The following program, Live and Learn, is made possible by Aging Partners. Find out more on their website.
Hi, I'm Lita Powell Drake, and today we have with us two very special guests. We have the First Lady of Nebraska, Suzanne Shore, and Liz Shea McCoy are going to be here to talk about all the beautiful new ornaments for the state Christmas tree. Please stay tuned, you're going to enjoy this.
Hi everybody, I'm Kim Hachia. Welcome to Live and Learn. On my segment today, my guests Dean and Jerry Finnegan will be talking about a really interesting project called Wreaths Across America, in which a wreath is placed on every veteran's grave at Wyuka Cemetery in December. Stay with me and learn about this beautiful project.
Hi, I'm Bill Ainsley, your Live and Learn co-host. Everybody needs a good place to live, and today we have two officials from the Lincoln Housing Authority, Chris Lamberty and Martha Hackenkamp. They'll tell us about information on housing opportunities right here in Lincoln, Nebraska.
I'm Kristen Stows, and I'm just having fun today. It is quite possible you have seen my guest, Jim King, in the middle of a group of children, singing, smiling, and entertaining, which is exactly what we are going to do today. Please join us.
This and more on today's Live and Learn.
Welcome to Live and Learn. I'm Lita Powell Drake, and we are delighted today to have with us Nebraska's First Lady, the lovely, beautiful Suzanne Shore, and of course Liz Shea McCoy, who does everything in Lincoln, Nebraska that has to do with the arts. Welcome to Live and Learn very much. Now we're having something very special with a tree this year. Now, but when did the tradition of the Christmas tree start at the Capitol?
Well, the holiday tree went up starting about 1934.
Oh my
And
goodness.
then it's evolved. In the 1940s, a sing-along was added to honor some of the local military who were serving at the Air Force Base.
Wow.
And then it was outside on the Capitol steps, and then the organ froze, and they decided to bring it inside, and it's been inside since.
And so it's been a pretty huge tree, hasn't it?
It is 20 feet, always donated by a citizen of Nebraska. This year it will be from the St. Edwards area from Ron and Catherine Benson. They have donated the tree.
And then is it hauled back here to Lincoln then?
It is. The Department of Transportation donates their time and effort and brings the tree in, and it is quite a production to watch that thing hauled into the Capitol. It's
Well,
amazing.
20 feet is a lot of tree, a lot of tree.
Yeah.
And so this goes back to, well, let's see, the first one, was it 1934?
1934. Yeah, and it has been in the rotunda for since then. Well, as long as I've known, as long as I know about, and just it's an amazing sight to see with all of the lights and the ornaments. It has always had decorations from the various counties, but this year we decided to take it in a different direction and add to all those ornaments and kind of jazz it up a little bit. And we did a call to artists for ornaments that would represent Nebraska and its people.
Okay.
Well, I just want to add on to what Suzanne said. Last spring, I got a call from Suzanne, and she recognized the need for new ornaments for our very important state Christmas tree in the rotunda. And so we together decided on having a uniform shape, a shape of Nebraska, of course, about this size, 11 inches wide and 5 inches tall. We put out a call to Nebraska artists shortly after Suzanne and I met, and we received 60 proposals. Wasn't enough.
Oh.
We knew we could do more. And actually, we're still celebrating our sesquicentennial for Nebraska, our 150th anniversary. I put out a second call to artists and did a lot of personal phone calls and emails and outreach to talk to artists across the state. As a result, we had a total of over 300 proposals from Nebraska artists. Of those proposals, 166 were juried in to this. Actually, it was a statewide competition.
What do you mean by juried in?
Selected.
Okay.
Juried and selected. So
Put them in jail.
no. We have so we have 166 new ornaments, and they are from artists representing 17 communities across the state of Nebraska and 14 Nebraska counties. So I think that's quite an amazing, successful project.
I want to take a look at the old Christmas tree, what it looked like
Okay.
in the old days, and so you can see the tremendous changes. And that was a big tree, but that's and that's a traditional Christmas tree. That's what we think. Now everything is changing. Let's take a look at the new look for 2018. We want you to tell us about it. So we'll start with the sleigh ride, and maybe you can explain that to us.
Okay. The sleigh ride was created by Patrick Gauthier, and I think when we did the call to artists, we wanted Nebraska themes. So this really ties in a rural Nebraska theme with the snow, the little rural church in the background, and the dad and his little child riding home with a holiday tree inside their sleigh.
Now, is this made of wood?
It's a fiberglass resin. Fiberglass resin. And you know, if you've ever ordered something, a piece of art, in a catalog they say every piece will be unique and different. Well, every ornament was a little bit different, either a little curved or a little whatever, but the artists embraced that as part of the uniqueness of their ornaments.
Well, with that particular thing, it's
charming.
I just wanted to sing, show you I can't sing. All right, now let's take a look at the next one, which is of a Native American.
Correct.
Can you explain this one to us?
This is Chief Red Cloud and First People County recognition. This is one of 5 ornaments that was created by Michelle Herbeck. She's the art teacher at Northeast High School. She also involved her students in this project, and she, of all of her advanced art students, had 5 of her students actually selected as part of the ornament competition.
Oh, that's really great. All right, we'll take a look at the old country schoolhouse then.
Right.
Isn't that interesting?
It's absolutely beautiful, and this is called Time Worn. Time Worn, and it was created by Lynn Bowder. Lynn is also from Lincoln, and those of us that travel around and embrace the history of our state, we come across every once in a while these old, whether they're churches or old buildings or homes, in this case a beautiful school, that over time is withering but still stands beautifully and stately as a reminder of a time past.
Can you guesstimate when an old schoolhouse looked like that?
Well, and I was talking to Lynn actually this morning about this. She was thinking maybe 1920 or 30. And then, you know, over time, population shifts, people move into the city or town, and then these little schoolhouses go away.
And here's another one of the sod buster. I think we all know what that means here
Correct.
in Nebraska.
This is created by Tom Myers. Tom created 3 ornaments, and sodbuster, we look at this, back when the pioneers were settling Nebraska, they came upon a very hard soil, unbroken soil.
Yeah.
And so back in those days they used oxen or horses and the old plow to break up the soil in order to plant their crops. So a little taste of all sides of Nebraska history.
So who made all these designs? Because there's a lot of them.
Who made the designs? They were all created by Nebraska artists. When we did our call to artists, we said contemporary, historical, abstract, but all the themes needed to relate to Nebraska history. There's a touch of holiday in some of these, but most of the ornaments just represent whatever the feeling. Even jazz is related in Omaha, the importance of jazz in Omaha.
Jazz?
Because after the first call to artists, the First Lady and Roxanne Smith and I put our heads together with some themes that were missing that we really thought were important on the holiday tree in the state capitol. So I happened to mention the importance of jazz to an artist, and they said, whoa, that's my theme. So we have a couple of jazz-related themes that really reflect the history of jazz that began in Omaha.
And not all the artists are established. We have children who created some of the most charming ornaments that we have. My daughter created one, and it gave me a lot of empathy for how difficult of a project this is, because it took her a lot longer than she thought it would. Just worrying about the meticulous aspects of it and making sure it's perfect, because these will stand on this tree for years to come.
Well, speaking of making things perfect, this is the lady who comes up with all these wonderful ideas in the art area. And so we want to go back to the first thing you came up with. Remember all the bicycles that were around town? The Tour to Lincoln, what was that called?
The Tour to Lincoln back in 2003,
2003,
which people go, are you kidding me? The bikes have been up for almost 17 years, right? 15 years.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway, the Tour to Lincoln was Lincoln's premier art project, actually inspired by Omaha's J. Doe's. I had never seen a public art project, but I brought the idea back to Nebraska, back to Lincoln. And since that time, we've had several other public art projects. The next project was the light bulbs.
The light bulbs. This was 2015, so that was quite a gap in there.
Correct. So we have what's the name of this one? I should know them all. But anyway, this was created by David Alls. It's on Normal Boulevard right now, proudly visible to many, many admiring Lincoln people and tourists alike. And then the most recent project was the Nebraska by Heart. And that was in celebration.
You've gotta have heart.
Correct. That was in celebration
Yeah.
of Nebraska's sesquicentennial. And actually, Suzanne was one of our honorary co-chairs for that event. So Lincoln continues to love these projects. So most recently, I was asked by Matt Schulte, who is the executive director of Campus Life in Lincoln, who they support Lincoln teens at around the city. And so the concept for serving hands are the hands, like this. And you can see them kind of cupped a little bit, outstretched. And this is really the biggest project I've ever done in size. The hands are 6 feet tall and 6 feet wide. So this is a combination of almost two sculptures together. And they will be up on a 2-foot base, so that will bring them up about 8 feet tall. So it will make another tremendous impact for the arts in our city.
And these have to be really very heavy because of our inclement weather, shall we say, blowing things over and so forth.
No. These are actually they're made out of a fiberglass resin, so they weigh between 130 and 150 pounds. Before the artists put stained glass or paint or mosaics, whatever. But then there's steel that goes down inside the base that will hold them steady from our 90-mile Nebraska winds. So really, over time, we've thought of many of the challenges with public art, but because the community continues to embrace public art, and I would say the ornament project was another example of public art.
Okay, do people bid for these designs?
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
Not the ornaments.
Not for the ornaments,
okay,
for the
okay.
Sacred Heart, for the Sacred Hands and the other projects, but not for the ornaments. Those will stay in the Capitol.
And Suzanne, where in the Capitol building will the tree be placed?
We're having a reception where you can see them. It will be December 2nd where they'll be laid out, and then after that they go up on the tree, and that will be in the rotunda of the Capitol up above. It's a beautiful space.
Oh goodness, how long is it going to be there?
It goes up in early December, probably around the 4th or 5th, and will come down, we're thinking December 28th. It has to do with the weather, but.
Well, may I wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you so much,
You're
Suzanne
welcome.
Shore.
Thank you,
and
Lita.
Liz Shea McClure, for sharing and creating this wonderful opportunity. And don't forget, it's never too late to live and learn about Nebraska history.
Legal services are a part of the spectrum of senior services available through our 8 area agencies on aging. Attorneys can assist and educate seniors on consumer credit and debt collection issues, as well as help them plan ahead with advance directives. Attorneys can also help seniors with consumer fraud and financial exploitation concerns, and also guide them through government benefit issues. For more information, contact the Elder Access Line at 800-527-7249.
Hi everybody, welcome to Live and Learn. My name is Kim Hachia. My guests today are my good friends Dean and Jerry Finnegan, who are part of a project called Wreaths Across America, which is an international project that places wreaths on veterans' graves at more than 1,400 cemeteries, mostly in the United States, but also worldwide, including Lincoln's own Wyuka Cemetery. Welcome to Live and Learn.
Thank you.
Good to be
Thank you
here.
for having us.
Thanks. Dean, briefly, what is Wreaths Across America?
It started in 1992 with a wreath maker in Maine who had about 5,000 excess wreaths, and he drove them from Maine to Arlington National Cemetery to honor veterans. And from there, it just took off. And today, they completely hit every grave at Arlington Cemetery, which is amazing. Thousands of volunteers line up to get the wreaths and place them on the graves. And it is spread now to 1,400 communities at sea and abroad, and primarily in the U.S. And Lincoln is fortunate enough to be one of those communities. And so it started that way and just caught on. It's a beautiful sight.
And so how did you and Jerry get involved?
Well, I got involved, mainly I had known about wreaths for years. My father is buried at Arlington, and every year at Christmas I would sit in front of the national news and cry because I would watch these volunteers, kind strangers, who would place a wreath on his grave. And so about 9 years ago, a vet I had known for years came into my office and said, I have a project I want you to work on. And I said, okay, what's the project? And he said, Wreaths Across America. And I burst into tears. Ralph Bierman started the project, got the permission from the national organization. And the mission is really to honor the veterans who have fallen, to remember the troops that are serving today, and to teach our children the value of freedom. And it just seemed like such a wonderful cause that I jumped right in.
Right.
And Jerry, how did you get involved?
Yeah.
Well, it was, I had known Ralph as well, and as Dean started to tell me about this organization, I knew that it was something I wanted to participate in, having been a veteran myself, and I had a full appreciation for what was going on, and from that little seed it has grown so that now we cover 1,800 graves at Soldier Circle at Wyuka. And there are nearly 5,200 veterans buried at Wyuka. And we hope someday to be able to hit everyone out in the grave. But for now, Soldier Circles.
And you told me that the wreaths aren't Christmas wreaths per se, but that there's an ancient ritual about wreaths and
wreaths go
soldiers.
back in Western culture centuries, millennia. The Persians, the Greeks, the Romans all use wreaths as ways of honoring. I mean, the Greek used wreaths to honor their Olympic champions. Mm-hmm. The Romans, in their architecture and in particular for military acknowledgement, would use the wreath as a means of honoring their soldiers.
So Jerry, tell me about, you said there's a ritual involved when you actually do, well, first of all, let's tell us when are the ceremonies this year?
There are two ceremonies because we're the state capital. We also host the State House ceremony that takes place in every state capital in the U.S. And an official wreath is presented to the governor or lieutenant governor. That's December 10th, Monday at 11 a.m. at the state capitol in the Warner Chambers. So everybody is invited to participate. We have children from McPhee that will be singing. We'll have an honor guard. The Patriot Guard will be on site, and it's a military ceremony.
And then the actual laying of the wreaths is?
The wreath laying is the 15th, and it will be at Wyuka at 11 a.m. And we'll blitz the graves after the ceremony.
And so, Jerry, you told me that there's a ritual to how each person's wreath is laid. So tell me about that.
And by the way, the 11 o'clock starting time here in Lincoln is designed to match the 12 noon starting time at Arlington. In fact, every cemetery in the country that's doing this is going to be doing it at the same time. And what happens is we have a ceremony, some keynote speakers, but then all the volunteers go out, and there are boxes pre-positioned out on Soldier Circle, and all the volunteers go out and take individual wreaths, lay them on individual graves, and when you do it, the ritual is to touch the headstone and say aloud the veteran's name. And the reason for that is that the old saying is that, you know, a soldier dies twice, once when he physically dies, but then the second time when his name is last spoken aloud. Well, this is a way that we can keep the name spoken aloud by laying the wreath and speaking his name.
It's a wonderful ceremony for children to participate in. They learn to touch and read the names and say them out loud. We bring our grandchildren every year, and more children, as you see, are participating.
I know you told me that a couple of years ago you did this in an ice storm, and rain or shine, you...
That was one of the most inspiring things, because we had our speakers couldn't get in. We thought we were going to have to cancel. We ended up moving the ceremony indoors to a small chapel. 150 volunteers braved that just to make sure those wreaths got out. It just astounded me. We had a full house.
So how are these paid for?
Donations.
Yes.
Yeah. We, every local cemetery has to purchase the wreaths from Wreaths Across America at a discounted price of $10. So we raise money through private donations, corporate donations. We have wonderful corporate sponsors who have been with us for a long time. Emeritus, UBT, Nelnet have all been with us for a long time, and more corporate sponsors are joining in.
And Creek Carrier in particular has not only made donations, they have provided a truck, have dedicated a driver to bring it in all the way from Maine, and then have one of their very special veteran trucks parked there for the ceremony.
Yeah, I just saw that veterans truck on a newscast showing that they have several of those trucks now.
Yes.
And I don't know what they call them, but it is
Patriot
truck
yes.
or something. Yeah, that's really an amazing phenomenon that they do. So how many people do you think are involved in this in Lincoln every year?
You know, we have several hundred who show up. The planning committee is small, but hundreds come in to help and to lay the wreaths. The 1,800 wreaths are laid in about 20 minutes.
And National Guard units, ROTC, Junior ROTC, the Arnold Air Society, a number of related units all pitch in and do their part.
And I know, is Wyuka the only cemetery in Nebraska that's part of this? Or?
No, we're the only one in Lincoln, but there are 9 cemeteries across the state that are participating.
Okay, that's pretty phenomenal. So you only manage the Lincoln one, though,
We only manage the Lincoln one.
And then it's only at Wyuka, but if you have a veteran in your family who's at a different cemetery, can you, how might I go about getting a wreath to cover that person's?
There's something called a Patriot Pair, and you can purchase one that you take, and you can take it to whichever cemetery you want and lay it on the grave, and then one wreath comes to Wyuka. So that's really good. And if you have someone buried outside of Soldiers Circle at Wyuka, you can request a grave-specific site, and we'll give you a wreath to go and lay on the grave of your loved one.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So I know Soldier Circle has veterans all the way back to the Civil War,
yes.
all the way up to today. So that's an impressive feat that we are remembering people from over 150 years ago. That's phenomenal. Phenomenal. So that is so cool.
It's a wonderful project, and it's so heartwarming to see people that just grab those wreaths and go out. And I feel like I'm paying back for my dad, you know, and that's a good feeling.
I know you told me that for years you felt like a stranger was honoring your father, and now you can do this in a different way for somebody else. So.
Right, and I want to say special thanks to the Combat Veterans of America, the chapter here in town, who just really, they form a honor guard. They are just wonderful to have, to remember their friends and be a part of the ceremony.
So this is December 15th.
15th.
At
Saturday.
Wayuka, 11 o'clock in the morning. Open to the public.
Yes, absolutely.
And who's the speaker? I know you told me, but I've already
It's
forgotten.
Lieutenant Colonel Tom Phillips this year, who has an amazing story about all of his combat experiences. And Jennifer Brinkman from the county board will be singing the Star Spangled Banner and one other song for us. And we have a wonderful array of military people who actually will do a specific wreath laying.
So if people want to donate or get involved, how do they do that? Do they contact you or?
They can simply, we can get wreaths if they simply send the check. And the wreaths are $15 a piece, but you get 3 if you send $30.
Oh, okay.
An extra one. And they can just send it to my office, Wreaths Across America, Lincoln, care of Jerry Finnegan, 1201 O Street, Suite 301.
Okay.
Here in Lincoln, 68508.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know that you've been involved in this for, I don't know,
9
about
years.
9 years
Yeah.
now. And I remember when you got started, and now it seemed kind of overwhelming and like a daunting giant task, but it's all kind of in the special Dean and Jerry way has come together. And
Well, it's a lot more than Dean and Jerry. There
Absolutely.
is a very good, dedicated
there's a
group
big team of people
work.
that work on
Yes.
that. And
The Blue Star Mothers are involved, a lot of veterans, a community leader or two, you know. And I think a really interesting part is the Lancaster County Republican Party and the Lancaster County Democratic Party came together to support this project and each have representatives on the committee. And guess what? We all get along, which is pretty incredible these days.
yeah, and that's pretty
Yeah,
heartwarming. So
it
anyway,
is. It's
so-
a good project
Right.
for both parties. So.
Good. Well, thank you so much for coming in and talking about Wreaths Across America. I think it's a fantastic project. I know the show, some editions of the show will air after the project, so everybody needs to maybe keep on board for next year too.
That's right.
And I just really want to thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks my guests for watching, and remind everyone that it's never too late to live and learn.
Vulnerable and senior adults might be living in silent fear of elder abuse and financial exploitation. We can do something about it. The Nebraska DHHS recommends that communities maintain and improve resources such as public transportation and senior centers to prevent social isolation. Engage professionals in various disciplines to find solutions to end elder abuse. Every year, June 15 is observed as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, an opportunity to ensure justice for all.
Hello, I'm Bill Ainsley, your host for this segment of Live and Learn. Everyone needs a good place to live, and that's what the Lincoln Housing Authority is all about. In Lincoln, the Housing Authority offers vouchers and public housing programs funded by the federal government. With me today are 2 officials from the Lincoln Housing Authority, Executive Director Chris Lamberty and Tenant-Based Housing Manager Martha Hackenkamp. Welcome to our program.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks
Glad
for
to be
inviting
here.
us.
Chris, please tell us about the Housing Authority and its history.
Well, the Lincoln Housing Authority was created in 1946 by the City of Lincoln with the mission to provide affordable housing to citizens in need. We've done that over the years without any ongoing state and local funding. Rather, we bring in a significant amount of federal resources into the community and federal programs to provide housing services to about 4,500 households on an ongoing basis. And we do that in 2 ways. One is, over the years, we've developed or acquired a number of rental properties, and we have about 1,500 rental units scattered across the city, apartments, houses, duplexes, and 3 senior high-rises, Crossroads House, Mahoney Manor, and Burke Plaza. And the second way is through the Housing Voucher Program, or what's called sometimes the Section 8 program. And that's our largest program, and in that program we assist with rental payments about 3,000 households every month.
Wow.
With federal funding.
Martha, I understand that there are more than 800 landlords in the voucher program. How does that work?
Well, an individual who's income eligible would apply to be a part of the program. They would be issued a voucher, and then they would go search the open market rental market in Lincoln. And those, if they can find an apartment, duplex, or townhome that works for them and a landlord that's willing to work with us, they would lease up with that unit. They would pay a portion of the rent, and LHA would make up the difference using federal funds.
So Chris, what is the state of affordable housing in Lincoln?
Well, I think we should start by recognizing that Lincoln is pretty fortunate. We, as a city, have lower housing costs than most communities across the country. And as a community have a whole robust set of resources available to our citizens, including what the Housing Authority is able to offer in housing services. I think we have more to offer than most communities our size. That being said, it is getting harder and harder to find an affordable place to live in Lincoln, and the citizens are really challenged to do that. Particularly over the last few years, what we've seen is a lot of new construction of very, very nice, expensive homes at the high end of the market, but very little new housing being developed for that's affordable to lower moderate income individuals. And as a result, what we're seeing, according to the latest census statistics, about 40% of the renters in Lincoln are considered cost burden, meaning they're paying more than a third of their income towards housing costs. And that's a real challenge for us. One of the ways that we see that challenge and that need is through our waiting lists. I said we serve about 4,500 households on an ongoing basis, but we have well over 5,000 additional families or households on our waiting lists trying to get into our programs, including 4,000 households hoping to get a voucher at some point that Martha described. So Lincoln faces some real challenges. We need to keep developing new housing that's affordable to lower income citizens, and we need to do that all around the city as the city grows in all of our neighborhoods. And we need to put some effort into improving the overall quality of the existing rental stock that we have in a lot of neighborhoods.
Martha, what are the challenges faced by older adults with regards to housing?
I don't think I'm going to say anything that's news or earth-shattering to most of the people that are watching this program, but of course, people want to age in place. They want to find a place where they can live that will accommodate them as they are on their aging journey. So a place that has a lot of stairs or that has parking that's outside, that's far away, that can be challenging for older adults. Americans love their freedom, and for most Americans that means car keys, and so a lot of us at some point in time in our lives will make the decision that it's just smarter not to drive anymore. So some people are thinking ahead and wanting to find a place that's close to family or friends or places they like to go, or that has transportation options, and that can be challenging. And of course all of those things wrapped up, accessible and close to transportation and affordable, can be really hard for older adults.
Would you explain a little bit about the voucher program?
Sure. So the voucher program provides rental assistance to income eligible older adults or people of all ages. About 3,000 families or households participate in the program every month. There's the way that it works is a person pays probably about 27% of their income in rent, and they find a place that will, on the open market, that will take a voucher, and LHA makes up the difference using federal funds.
So Chris, let's take a look at some of the apartment buildings that you have and some of the amenities there. So unfortunately we only have time for a quick snapshot, but please tell us a bit about Burke Plaza.
Well, Burke Plaza is a beautiful property located right next to St. Elizabeth Hospital. It's designated for seniors age 62 and over. There are one-bedroom apartments that are very nice, and there's some lovely community facilities, community room, recreational rooms, where we have a number of social activities. And it's a place where, due to a partnership that we have with Aging Partners, we're able to bring in a lot of additional resources for the residents there that allow people to age in place or live there longer than they might otherwise be able to. So that they don't have to move as quickly to higher levels of care and much more expensive levels of care.
So Chris, for folks in Northwest Lincoln, you have Arnold Heights. What do people expect when they're living there?
Well, first and foremost, what you'll find in Arnold Heights is a great neighborhood, a great elementary school, some very large spacious properties, big yards, lots of green space. We have quite a few families who live out in that neighborhood. And very affordable rents. We have the most common unit we have out there is a 3-bedroom duplex that rents for $590 a month, so it's very affordable for families and others. Inside there we have a really nice, spacious, updated units. You see there an updated kitchen, lots of cabinet and counter space, full-size appliances, dishwasher. It's really a great place to be able to make a family meal.
And as they say on some ads, but wait, there's more. And Martha, that can mean Mahoney Manor.
Mahoney Manor is another senior apartment complex that's located in Havelock. They have 120 units that range in size from a studio apartment all the way up to a 2-bedroom. It's a secure access. There's off-street parking. They allow small pets, and all utilities are paid except for phone and cable. But that's kind of the logistics of it, but it's also a great place to be able to be a part of a community. They have social, educational, recreational support services there. It's a wonderful place for older adults to live.
And some of the residents might enjoy playing games.
Well, absolutely, who doesn't? And Linda, who's the resident services coordinator, she puts together a calendar of fun events that happen all month long, everything from, of course, bingo, all the way up to Tai Chi and educational events, shopping trips, chapel services, tailgate parties. They have a good time out there.
And as we just saw a few moments ago, some of the residents, when they're not playing games, they might be eating.
Yes, they are. A meal service is also available through a partnership with Aging Partners. That's for people that have higher level of needs. It's a wonderful, they have case management, personal and in-home services. They have transportation as well as those meals. So again, it helps people age in place.
There are some other facilities such as Crossroads House, Prairie Crossing, and Summerhill Apartments. Transportation is an issue for some of the folks, and the Lincoln Housing Authority can help with that depending on location. So Chris, how do you help with transportation?
Yeah, transportation we recognize is particularly a challenge for older adults. And so we have 2 vans that are shared between the 3 senior properties, and those are used for group outings, to go shopping, for educational activities or recreational excursions, and we are blessed to have a number of volunteer drivers available to make those trips for our residents. It's one of the benefits of living in the building. Due to our partnership with Aging Partners, we're also able to help some residents with reduced cost cab vouchers, which will allow people to make individual trips, say to a medical appointment and those kind of visits.
And all of this doesn't come for free. Vouchers and rents can be for different amounts, and there are different income guidelines for different subsidies. Martha, please take us through some of the income guidelines for people with very low income.
Well, in order to be eligible for the voucher program, a family of 1 can't have an annual income of over $27,000, but honestly, the average income of a voucher holder is only $16,000 annually. So we're serving a lot of individuals that are very low income, but a family of 2, their income can't be over $31,000 a year. And those might seem high, but the average Social Security check in Nebraska is just about $1,200 a month, and about a third of Nebraskans are living exclusively on their Social Security. So we know there's a lot of older adults out there that would benefit from being a part of something that provides assistance with finding affordable housing. There are lots of other resources available through Aging Partners. They know about so many other housing opportunities and options. There's a lot of other affordable housing options in Lincoln that aren't affiliated through the Lincoln Housing Authority. And we encourage people to go to the website or give them a call for more information about that.
See on the screen, it says family size 3 is $35,300. Family size 4 is $39,200.
That would be correct.
And for family size 5, it's $42,350. Family size 6, $45,500. Family size 7, $48,650. And family size 8, $51,750. So that sounds like a lot of money, but really it isn't for a big family.
It's not for a big family, and one thing you should remember is that's the maximum income someone can make to qualify for our voucher program. But as Martha said, the average income of the people we're serving is actually much, much lower than that. It's more like $16,000 is the typical income of a family we're serving.
There are many more income guidelines that we just don't have time to list here, but maybe you could take a quick moment to talk about how Aging Partners relates to the Housing Authority.
Yeah, Martha, you want to take that?
We've got about a minute to go.
So Aging Partners is a valuable partner. There's a lot of services and information that they can provide to the people that reside at Burke or Mahoney or Crossroads House or just in the community.
Okay, thank you very much. For more information, please contact Chris Lamberty or Martha Hackenkamp at the Lincoln Housing Authority. It's Lincoln Housing Authority, 5700 R Street, Lincoln, Nebraska, 68505. TDD 1-800-545-1833, extension 875. The pre-recorded waiting list hotline is 402-434-5518. The website, www.L-H-housing.com. Applications are taken Monday through Thursday from 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Friday from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. My thanks today to Chris Lamberty and Martha Hackenkamp of the Lincoln Housing Authority for being with us today. Just remember that wherever you are living, it's never too late to live and learn.
Legal services are a part of the spectrum of senior services available through our 8 area agencies on aging. Attorneys can assist and educate seniors on consumer credit and debt collection issues, as well as help them plan ahead with advance directives. Attorneys can also help seniors with consumer fraud and financial exploitation concerns, and also guide them through government benefit issues. For more information, contact the Elder Access Line at 800-527-7249.
Sometimes we have just for fun segments, and this is one. I'm Kristen Stowes, and I first met my guest, Jim King, at a children's birthday party and was immediately engaged in his participatory pandemonium, as he has labeled it. Welcome to Live and Learn, Jim.
Kristen, thank you so much.
This is going to be so much fun. I'm so glad you're here.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Although music has always been a part of your life, you have had many and varied, interesting professional positions as well. Could you please fill us in on your background?
My wife told me not to talk about being a window washer, so I guess I won't talk about that. But we did the Peace Corps thing. We went back to Indiana University, and I worked there for a while, then with a project with the University of Southern California in Iran. And then we came back and I did some gardening and community kind of work with like a crops organization. And so we sold at the farmers market, chickens and other things. And then some time at the University of Hawaii on an international development project. And then in 85, we came to University of Nebraska. So I finished teaching and doing research and extension work here at the university.
Then you have had a varied career. I love it. And music then has always been a part of your life. And how has that played out, so to speak?
I think when I was little, my grandfather had a soda shop back in the 20s and 30s, and they had a jukebox, and when he retired, he brought 78s home. And I grew up kind of in the beginning of rock and roll and the folk era in the late 50s and so on, and heard the big band music of the 30s and 40s and stuff. So I wanted to be a rock and roll player. I envisioned myself as Ricky Nelson, and then I envisioned myself as part of the Kingston Trio.
Of course.
And so I've been playing since the late 50s sometime.
Okay, all right.
Into college, in a band in high school and through college and so on.
And then when you had your family, I understand it continued.
My wife was a preschool teacher with kids with disabilities, and she would invite me in the classroom. And so I would play a lot of Woody Guthrie type songs, put your finger in the air, things like that.
Sure.
And that got us started. And then when we had children, I would go in sometimes, just in their crib, and try to sing them to sleep and so on. And what I caught myself doing once was singing myself to sleep. The kid is still up and I am falling asleep, but I think
that can
happens.
happen pretty easily. So then when you retired from the University of Nebraska, did it just seem natural to continue your work with children and music?
I think when I retired, I listened to a friend of mine and just had some relaxing time after I retired and didn't jump into things. But I caught myself sitting in my self-described man cave in the basement in a corner with my guitars playing to myself, and I thought I wanted to do something more. So I started looking around for opportunities with children.
Okay.
And I started finding a couple here and there, and I would volunteer, or I used a strategy of semi-obnoxious calling people who in the paper said they had activities.
Okay.
And I would frequently notice they never would say anything about music. And so I said, here's what I do.
Yeah.
I do music, it's a freebie, so.
Why not?
And sometimes they would take a risk and I would go sit on the ground and start playing. Yep.
Well, I really see you as kind of a Pied Piper with children, honestly. You define your space, it's very colorful, it's very inviting, and I also notice that when you sing, you really like to get down eye level with your audience. How important do you feel that is?
Well, I call what I do kind of a sit on the ground, come and go. Whoever comes, they're here. When they go, they go. It's not a show, per se.
Okay.
And sitting on the ground is where children frequently are. When I see our grandkids or our own children when they were young at home, they're on the ground playing and so on, and that's comfortable for me. At least right now it is. Getting down is not the problem, but I have to say, Kristen, getting up is starting to get to be a problem sometimes.
Yes.
Thanks for yoga. I can get up with down dog, but sometimes
yes, I can identify with
it's
all of that.
a little problematic.
So what other ways do you use to connect with children?
Well, lots of different kinds of instruments, colors, and so on. When I sit on the ground, sometimes there's lots of other stuff going on, as there should be. And so if they can see the red, the yellow is, sometimes I feel like a daffodil. Sometimes the kids see the color and I can make eye contact and I'm playing the banjo and try to get the kids to come.
Well, and I know in family events you really engage the adults that are there as well.
Well, part of it is to get the adults, and a lot of them know these songs, and I even play some rock and roll songs, especially things that kids can sing with. There's a John Mellencamp song, Rockin' in the USA. That's a good one because a lot of the adults right now who have 3s and 4-year-olds have been through John Mellencamp in their youth.
True.
So they know some of these songs and can sing along and encourage their kids. And I have drums.
I was going to say, you have brought instruments with you today that you usually put out for the children to use, and most of them are percussion based, so it's easy for them to pick up and take part in the songs, right?
Again, I felt like part of it was participation for the kids to make music because they would do it at home.
Sure.
What I discovered originally, my idea was to have things that were found instruments.
Okay.
That they would be sticks that they could hit together, or pots and pans that they would have at home or that I could bring from home. Pot lids were great because they had so many wonderful tones and different things to bang with. And then over time, I discovered there's a lot of children's materials that are available either for purchase or I could find in thrift stores.
Okay.
So I started finding things and
let's look at just a couple of these ideas.
Well, here was one, and now I broke this. I didn't
I thought
buy
it was
it
just
broken. But it was an owie, and we've talked about owies. And a lot of the kids, the empathetic ones have it. And
they understand that.
This is a purchased one. A lot of kids don't know how to use it, but when they find out, it's quite exciting and they can show it to others. This is something some friends brought back from Peru.
A shaker, isn't
Well,
that?
it's a shaker, but they're llama or llama toenails. You know, the alpacas. I'm not sure which.
My goodness.
It turns out to be yucky when the kids find out. Oh, toenails type thing. You know. One I've bought, and the only time I use it is at Halloween.
Okay.
You know, there was an old person, all skin and bones. Oh.
I knew that was coming.
I like that one. And little stuff for Christmas and a little hand shaker for me, so when I play I can have a shaker too. But lots of stuff. It's not overly attractive, but I don't use it so much anymore, but this is a dreadnought. Drummers would use them. And I didn't like the idea of the thimbles for the kids.
Oh,
now I have another one,
idea.
a little bit bigger, that has a lid and also has a wooden slat on the back, so you get a little different sound.
Okay.
And
All
I
right.
will do that with some older kids, so I normally don't use that. And
Sure.
there are lots, and there's a wonderful. I mean, talk about an egg.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that a nice egg? I mean, really.
Yeah,
So
has a nice
these are not found instruments. They're found in music catalogs and
Yes.
so on. But
Well, they're fun instruments.
I
They're
think so.
easy, doesn't require instruction.
and of course the kazoo.
Okay, all right.
And I don't really let the kids use this
Mhm.
because mouth-to-mouth stuff.
Exactly.
We don't
That's a no-no.
encourage that.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in addition to this, you actually are a very proficient musician in a number of stringed instruments, yes?
Well,
Yes,
I would
you
not
are.
say proficient. I'm still trying to improve. I mean, it's a
Right.
constant battle.
Okay.
It's a constant
But you
battle.
do. You play banjo.
I have
guitar.
a 5-string and I've been borrowing a 5-string banjo for about 25 years from my
Okay.
friend Chuck. I have a 4-string. I have several ukuleles, baritones, and tenors mostly, and that's how I started playing.
Sure.
I have a couple guitars, and when I go out, it's usually the banjo, the uke, and a guitar.
So, Jim, do you write any original music, or how does this?
I adopt a lot.
Okay.
For example, Wheels of the Bus. I play that 20 times in a 3-hour session, sitting like at Earth Day or something. So, the wheels of the bus go round and round. There's a driver on the bus, there are wipers on the bus, there's a door on the bus, but there are other things on the bus. There's the teenagers on the bus go text, text, text. See, we try to keep it contemporary and adapt.
Yes, I understand.
And there are also things that I've picked up from other musicians. There, the moms and dads on the bus say, "We love you." So try to give some positive things. Things like also, if you're happy and you know it, it's always happy. But it can also be, my wife talked about the emotional side. If you're mad and you know it, stomp your feet.
There
Or
you go.
if you're unhappy and you know it, try to frown.
They can identify with all of that.
Right.
Yes, yes.
And so it's part of everything else, and so there's no set group of lyrics.
Okay.
So I adopt a lot of the old folk songs and so on.
Okay, all right. So I'm certain when you work with children, you have many endearing stories. Do you have one or two just to share quickly?
Endearing.
Yes.
Well,
Or funny.
I don't know. Chair out of a Crayola set
Okay.
that I started using because I was having trouble getting up and down. And I've discovered this chair has a life of its own and adaptation, even though it can be used as a drum, but really, little kids love this.
I bet.
They see it and they want it. So I was playing once, and one of my favorite kids saw me and just, Jim King, Jim King, Jim King, and came over and sat on the chair. And it hit me that maybe the chair had some possibilities. So I'm playing at a Christmas party or a celebration at St. East, which will be again this year. They're going to restart it. And I noticed at the very beginning a blur on the right side or left side, and I didn't know what it was. And then I saw the blur go back. And I was playing, and I wasn't paying attention, I guess. And all of a sudden I see this little girl standing on the chair singing, I don't know, Wheels of the Bus or something.
Really?
She was so enthralled by that, she just came and got it.
Oh,
so now I don't take that so much because
Okay.
I don't want kids standing and falling who are too
Exactly.
young and
Yeah,
so on.
yeah.
So,
You learn a lot by doing, I'm sure.
well, live and learn.
There you go. Perfect, perfect. What age range child do you kind of like to concentrate on?
I think I like the 0 to 4, and I really like 3 and 4 because they've got language. They're willing to do things. They're not afraid. Once they get past 4, and in particular once they get past 5, then they're peer pressure. They got other things, rock and roll, this and that.
Yes,
and,
yes.
I can do some of that, but I like the little ones.
Yes, yes, understanding. And I know in addition to working with children, you also do appear in some adult venues.
I do.
Uh-huh,
I volunteer at like Clark Geary, Tabitha, some of the greenhouses.
Oh, that's wonderful. I bet they're very appreciative.
Well, it's a good thing a lot of people, I work with the memory units,
Sure.
so.
But music is so important for that.
I've learned so much, and that's part of all this is
That's right.
what I learned.
That's right, yeah.
I think I try to go back and I've studied what kind of music was popular when people who are 85 and so on, where they were growing up.
Okay.
And so I try to play the American standards and so on.
That's
and
wonderful.
I've told people this is a Frank Sinatra song or this is a
I love
so and so. And my favorite person is Doris Day, and I
Yes.
talk about my girlfriend Doris Day,
Oh.
and this is and the movies that some of these things came
Well,
from.
that's very endearing as well. Jim, we will be putting your website on screen for our viewers to access. They can bring up your site and see what all you do. And just one last question that I'd like to have you answer briefly. It's really easy to see why children and parents who take part in this participatory pandemonium, it's easy to see what they gain, but I'd like to hear what you get out of this.
Well, it's good for my ego.
Okay.
That's one thing. That's maybe the first thing. But I have to admit, when I play with the kids, I get that feedback, so much enjoyment. When a kid smiles, or I know that song, or their puzzle songs, and oh no, that's not the way it goes.
Yes.
And we get into that, and you get the parents involved sometimes, or the grandparents, or you get questions. That's just the fun part of it. So it's fun, and I grow. I
Okay.
grow.
All right.
And I think I can give back too.
Jim, thank you so
My
much
pleasure.
for what you do, for the fun you create, and
Well, thank
certainly
you.
for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Jim King. And for all of you, I hope Jim and I have brought a smile to your face as you remember it's never too late to live and learn.